How's the audio? Can someone let me know how the audio is? Okay, audio's good. I think I'm going to start with reacting to one of Earthling Ed's recent debates with a meat eater. I believe that Earthling Ed scripts these things. I'm glad that you can hear the rooster. Yeah, I'm having to pay him extra just for the farm sound effects. At least he won't be right here next to me today, I don't think. Like he was yesterday. Let's pull up Earthling Ed, the pesticide profiteer. I don't know if you've seen my video on Earthling Ed, and he's being financed by a company called Blue Horizon. Blue Horizon. They one of their major profit centers is a company that sells pesticides that kills all sorts of animals. So he's profiting from animal death. Some people have claimed that just because he's being funded by an animal death company doesn't mean that he's involved with animal death. However, I find it telling that he's willing to take money from an animal death corporation. Again, I want to go ahead and invite anyone that would like to come on, whether they are vegan, ex-vegan, anti-vegan, don't care about veganism. We'll have a conversation. You can tell me what you think about some subjects. Okay, so here's Earthling Ed.
How do you morally justify eating the animal products that you eat?
Before this interview, I mean, I told you I've been really big. I love eating meat. I love cooking meat. Now thinking about it, it's just like it hurts. It really does. Like this whole like conversation, this whole topic, it hurts me because it just doesn't morally justify the fact that like we're killing these animals.
So does this sound like a meat eater off the street, or does this sound more like someone that was cherry picked and coached to say the things that Earthling Ed wants you to hear?
For basically for fun.
Hey everyone, I'm just jumping in quick.
Yeah, so you've got a meat eater that and this is the standard pattern with his debates with meat eaters, is that they start out conceding that eating meat is simply just for fun, and they don't bother to mention the fact that there's a long list of nutrients that are either completely missing or deficient in a 100% plant-based diet.
Quickly, as debates are a great way to get to know someone a little more personally. But do you know what isn't a great way though? Harvesting and then selling someone's personal information online. Which brings me to today's sponsor, Incogni. Did you know that data brokers aggregate our personal information?
Yeah, let
and
me
then
see if I
sell
can
it
fast
to
forward this
businesses?
commercial.
Not only is this data name or better Ed will get 6
Diego in Southern California with a banner that says, "Give me your best argument for not being vegan." You very kindly sat down. I've learned a lot about you in the few minutes we've been speaking, but now I'm interested to know what your response is to the banner in question.
This is, I don't buy that Earthling Ed doesn't eat any meat. He was in the past probably a vegan, but you could tell by looking at him that he was deteriorating quite rapidly and probably getting dangerously unhealthy. Was probably advised by his handlers to start eating meat, eggs, probably eating beef liver, and he seems to have turned his health around. He looks much better. Notice that he doesn't mention his change in appearance. He doesn't mention to anyone what he changed about his diet. Something certainly changed. And this guy that he's talking to is probably a meat eater as well, but a vegan activist. You don't have to be a vegan to be a vegan activist, because vegan activists are paid quite handsomely in some cases. And you got to start somewhere. So this guy might be a fledgling vegan activist who's getting started posing as a meat eater who sat down to argue against veganism. But pay attention and notice that I haven't seen this yet, but I'm going to predict that he doesn't set forth any real arguments against veganism, but he's just going to be conceding that veganism is a better lifestyle.
So my reason for not being vegan is ever since I was a kid, I've been eating meat. Like, I love meat, pause. But I really enjoy cooking too, and especially making hamburgers and stuff. It's just like that whole like aspect of doing that. But also too.
Okay, so this is an appeal to culture fallacy. It's one of the vegans' primary distractions. No real meat eater who is anti-vegan is going to use culture as a reason to continue to eat meat. The primary reason we eat meat is because we're not herbivores. We don't have a functioning rumen. We don't have a functioning cecum. We're not producing cecotropes. We're not eating cecotropes. Any vegan out there who has a functioning cecum, please make a video showing us how you eat cecotropes. We all would love to see that. But this argument, it's tradition or it's our culture, and that's why I eat meat. This is a weak argument, and I think that's why they script this in to most all of Earthling Ed's so-called debates.
There's like vegetarian and vegan like restaurants, and they're so expensive. Like an $8 smoothie. Like, I can get a smoothie for like $3 at In-N-Out, and it tastes the same, right? I'm paying $5 less.
Sure, but I guess you're also paying for quality. I mean, In-N-Out is mass produced, and the way that I see plant-based food is it can be expensive. It can also be inexpensive. You know, think about being a non-vegan, right? And you want to eat, let's say you want to eat red meat. Now, you can go to a fancy steakhouse and pay top dollar for a piece of steak, or you can go to Arby's and get a cheap beef sandwich, right? Yeah. And I think it's the same with vegan, right? Being vegan, you can go to some of the high restaurants and you can.
I don't know what I think. Let's see, what is the price of Beyond Meat right now? If he's going to talk about that. Beyond Meat price per pound. Yeah, at Target it's $7 a pound, or no? Let's see. Let me pull it up. Beyond this is at Target, so probably one of the outlets with the lower price. Beyond Meat, plant-based ground, 16 ounces, which is a pound, $8.99 versus, let's see, yeah, so that's $8.99, $9 a pound. And at Target, ground beef is for 1 pound is $6.49. So I don't think that Earthling Ed's argument here to explain how much more expensive a plant-based diet is at all a picture of reality.
Pay $10 for a smoothie, $15 for a Mexican tostada or whatever it might be, or you can shop inexpensive as a vegan as well. And it's just about finding the options that meet your means and your budget.
Totally.
Just to bring it back to the first.
I'm going to go back and look at his reaction to what Earthling Ed just said. Sounds like he's trying to portray that he's really learning something, but Earthling Ed is not offering up any proof, just making unsupported claims.
First thing you're saying is tostada or whatever it might be, or you can shop inexpensive as a vegan as well. And it's just about finding the options that meet your means and your budget. Just to bring it back to the first thing you're saying was kind of about enjoyment. I kind of have a two-part question, really. The first part is,
very
can you still
agreeable
enjoy plant-based
anti-vegan.
food? Can you still enjoy the process of cooking plant-based food? But also, secondly, and potentially more important than that, is does the enjoyment of animal products justify the moral consequences of what we...
Here we go again with that claim that the only thing that animal products have to offer is enjoyment. Are they enjoyable? Yes. The reason they're enjoyable is because you are programmed, you're designed to appreciate and enjoy foods that contain nutrition. That's why you enjoy meat. If it was bad for you, then you wouldn't like it. Someone might say, well, ultra-processed foods are enjoyable and we like that, and that's not good for us. Yes, that's true, but these are concoctions. These are recipes. These are not whole foods. So they're scientifically designed to fool you into thinking that they're healthy. And besides that, in the natural world, starch and sugar is relatively hard to come by, and getting a little bit of that in your diet as a hunter-gatherer would actually increase your chances of survival, because it would give you fuel, and that's back in the days where we needed fuel because we were active.
we do to animals?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So plant-based food, I made plant-based chorizo before, and it's actually really good.
Awesome.
I don't.
Again, does that sound like someone who's sat down ready to combat Earthling Ed, or to me, this looks much more like a scripted conversation. This guy's Basically, he sat down to argue against veganism, but throughout the entire conversation, and again, I have not watched this yet, but I'm going to predict that if you were to tally his anti-vegan comments versus his pro-vegan comments, that he's going to be making many more pro-vegan comments.
I'm not opposed. I'm not against any of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had a conversation. I've had my ex-girlfriend. She was vegetarian, vegan, right?
Yeah.
She loved all that stuff, and she would get really mad at me because my family, my heritage, we eat a lot of lamb.
Yeah.
So, and like she would show me videos of just lamb, just like getting like slaughtered and stuff like that. It hurt me a lot too, because that's.
Yeah, this sounds like a meat eater. Does this guy sound like a vegan who's pretending to be a meat eater? I would put money on it. I would put a lot of money betting that this guy is, well, I think he's a meat eater, but he's a vegan activist. When the camera's not on him, he's eating beef liver, grass-fed beef, organic pastured chicken, pastured eggs. But he's being, in my opinion, paid to promote veganism. He was cherry-picked. He was hired. This is scripted.
That's my culture of eating lamb, and it's a delicacy, right? And to see all this happening.
There he goes again with the culture. That's the weak argument against veganism, is that, well, we're eating meat because of our culture. I bet this guy will never mention nutrition.
It really hurts.
Why does it hurt?
It really hurts. These are vegan talking points that this guy that is debating Earthling Ed is bringing to the table. A bunch of vegan talking points.
Just because they're so like they can't do anything about it. You know, like it's so easy for them to just get killed because like what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, like
it's so easy for them. I feel terrible for eating meat because the animals are just going to get killed because what are they going to do? I mean, you feel it hurts. Does this guy hurt for the animals that are shot to protect the crops? Does he hurt for the voles and the field mice that are being baited with rodenticides that contain anticoagulants that cause the animal to slowly bleed to death over 13, 14 days? Does he hurt for those animals? Will he mention those animals at all? I'm going to bet that he won't.
Yeah. They're weak, and in essence, I suppose we exploit their vulnerabilities and then we use the fact that they are subjugated as a reason to continue harming them. Okay. With that point in mind, then.
Yeah. So the meat eater agrees with every point, every attempted point from Earthling Ed. Scripted propaganda.
We speak about culture, we speak about taste. Do you think that something is moral automatically because it is cultural, or should culture? So
this is, again, they're going back to that. We're eating meat because of culture. I mean, that could be debunked. I mean, any culture may have an immoral norm. You know, it might be normal in some cultures for men to abuse their wives. So you can argue that just because it's a cultural norm doesn't mean that it's appropriate. And that's why this culture argument, you'll see this argument very frequently in Earthling Ed's scripted debates. But in the real world, you don't see that argument being used as an argument against veganism, because people who are anti-vegan don't eat meat for cultural reasons. And most people who eat meat and are aware of the fraud called the vegan cult, they realize that culture argument is weak.
Cultures look to evolve and change over time.
Wow. So I think cultures, they do evolve over time, but at the same time, there's specific roots that stay in cultures that never leave.
Yeah.
but it's like technology changes every day.
Yeah, right.
Culture can evolve every day too.
Yeah.
But there's still things that are in place that help that culture evolve, but they never leave.
Sure.
So
I mean, the wonderful thing about culture is it is symbolic of identity, of history, of tradition, of communion, of family, of celebration. So many things that are important to us being human. So many things that make us uniquely.
It's funny that he would be talking about family and tradition when one of the things that they teach vegans is to disassociate with friends and family who don't agree to go vegan. I have videos on that. Those videos feature Earthling Ed telling vegans to disassociate from their friends and family,
Human as well, but also
which is a cult trait.
cultures can be used as vessels for continuing to do bad things. Traditions can be used to uphold archaic practices.
He's the anti-vegan who sat down to oppose Earthling Ed agrees with everything that Earthling Ed says.
And so I think whilst it's true that, lamb is probably a significant part of your family's culture, your culture, the question isn't whether or not that is relevant, but whether or not that in and of itself makes it moral to continue consuming lamb.
yeah, so and that's a great question, because I've had that thought every single time I put lamb in my mouth. Right?
Yeah.
So he puts lamb in his mouth, and the first thing he thinks of is, can I justify this for cultural reasons? So this guy's, why did he sit down if he's already looking at the world through a vegan lens? Why is he, look at the title of this video is Meat Eater Devastated by the Truth Goes Vegan on the Spot. This guy was a vegan activist to begin with. He had to be.
I've eaten lamb, and then I've thought to myself, what was this before? It was just a kind little lamb that was, sitting there.
I imagine that right there on the table, down below what we can see just out of frame, is a stack of cash. And every time this guy makes a point for veganism, this so-called opponent of veganism, this so-called meat eater, I imagine that Earthling Ed's handler is there putting another stack of cash on top of the mountain of cash. And this guy's just probably getting more and more excited as the interview goes on, knowing that he's about to pocket some profit.
They're eating his grass, and now I'm eating it, and it hurts. It really does.
Yeah, this guy hurts a lot. He hurts a lot for the animals, but he doesn't hurt for the animals that are killed in the lethal crop protection industry. In fact, he doesn't even care enough to mention them.
Because I think about it it's just mass produced. We can buy it from Costco or Target.
Mass produced where you can buy it from Costco or Target? You mean like Beyond Meat? Or corn? Soy curls?
There are all these different places that are just sold for our enjoyment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for our enjoyment. So here you've got a meat eater who's got all the vegan talking points down. He's got every one of them cataloged and ready to tell us every reason why he thinks that we should be vegan. However, he's being sold to us as a meat eater. You buy that? I don't.
it's animals that are have their own lives that are sold for our enjoyment, and it's weird because if people are saying oh, human, you can buy human food, right? That's weird.
Yes.
But
no, what's weird is for a meat eater to sit down and know every single vegan talking point. That's weird.
It's saying oh, we're eating animal food, but they're not people, but they're active in our communities and they're still living.
Okay, these animals are active in our community. So have you ever gone to a community event and sat down with some animals? Yeah, we're going to clean up the park. Mr. Squirrel, I want you to pick up the cigarette butts. And Mr. Rabbit, would you pick up all the vegan candy wrappers? And you bluebirds, you guys help us with the corn cans. Pick up the corn cans, and there's some soy curl packaging around here. Lots of vegan plastic waste that we need to pick up. So all of you animals that are involved in our local community, appreciate your help. Let's get to work.
And we're eating something that was living and just slaughtered. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
It was living and just slaughtered, like those deer that were in the cornfields, those deer that were displaced by the crops to begin with, these factory crop farms that displace all the animals, kill the animals, and then when the animals come back, once there's something there to eat again, then they shoot those animals. And then the vegans claim, oh, it's okay because those animals were infringing on our property rights. They were trespassing. They know that we've got a deed on this land, therefore they deserve to die.
you're right. Other animals aren't humans, but what they share in common with us is they are sentient.
Exactly.
They experience life. They live subjectively. They have things that make them happy, things that make them sad. They feel pain. They feel suffering.
They have brains.
They have brains.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have brains like all the insects that you kill with the pesticides on your crops, the pesticides that Blue Horizons subsidiaries sell so that they have profits to put into your pocket, Earthling Ed. Those insects also have brains. So, this is the vegan hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And they think exactly. So with that in mind, then, how do you morally justify eating the animal products that you eat?
I would like to ask Earthling Ed, how does he morally justify taking money from a company that sells pesticides that are killing mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, crustaceans, etc.?
What do you?
Wow. So before this interview, I told you I've been really big. I love eating meat. I love cooking meat.
Oh yeah, he loves eating meat. He loves cooking meat. For cultural reasons.
Now thinking about it, it's just like it hurts.
This is the first time he's thought about it. Yet earlier in the conversation, he said that every time he puts lamb in his mouth, he thinks about it. So he's just contradicted himself, hasn't he?
It really does. Like this whole like conversation, this whole topic, it hurts me because it just doesn't morally justify the fact that like we're killing these animals for basically for fun.
What is that thing on his wrist? Is that where he's going to put all the cash that he's about to be paid for participating in this propaganda piece?
Fun. People, some people they have fun in killing animals, and it's just not right.
No, it's not right.
They have fun killing animals. Eating meat isn't about having fun killing animals. It's not done for the enjoyment of killing animals. Most people who eat meat, the vast majority of meat eaters love animals, but that's not a reason to eat a diet that's not natural and is nutrient deficient, which is animal foods. Animal foods are where the nutrition is at for human beings. We don't have a functioning rumen and we don't have a functioning cecum. Period. End of story.
And you're right. The reason we do it is A, cultural, B, kind of traditional habit. But
No, again, here you go. This common theme throughout this whole thing looks like we're about almost halfway through here, is that we're eating meat for cultural reasons. And that's not why we eat meat. We eat meat so that we can procure things like choline, methylcobalamin, creatine, vitamin A, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, vitamin D, vitamin F, vitamin K2, MK4, heme iron, CoQ10, CLA, taurine, L-carnosine, carnitine.
also primarily because we enjoy it, right? We like how they taste. And you say, no, people enjoy the act of killing, and they do. And we look at people.
I don't think that people enjoy the act of killing. How many meat eaters do you know that slaughter their own meat? I don't think that. I don't even think it's 1% of the population slaughters their own meat products, the animals that go into providing them essential nutrition. So this is a straw man argument, because the vast majority of people are so far removed from the production of their food that this, well, they enjoy killing animals argument is complete BS.
People who enjoy the act of killing as being sociopathic is scary. Like, what sort of human could enjoy the act of killing?
I don't know. Why don't you ask Blue Horizon that sells the pesticides that kills all those animals? And they are the ones that are funneling money into your pockets, Earthling Ed. Ask them how they live with themselves, killing animals in the wild indiscriminately at such high rates that it's driving many animals straight into extinction.
But at the same time, if the reason we're eating animals is because we enjoy how they taste, regardless of whether we enjoy the act of killing or just enjoy.
So the two weakest arguments against veganism is what this video is about. It's we eat meat because of culture, and then we eat meat because we like how they taste. These are not the arguments that are effective and that are the real reason that we should not be vegans.
Enjoy the consequence of killing. These animals are still being killed purely for something we enjoy rather than for something that we need.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we don't need all of these essential nutrients, right? Could that be because the same companies that are trying to get us to eat a plant-based business or a plant-based diet are also businesses that are owned, they're subsidiaries owned by companies, umbrella corporations like Bayer, Monsanto, pharmaceutical companies? Do you think a pharmaceutical company might have some ulterior motive to get everyone to eat a plant-based diet? I wonder what that ulterior motive would be.
Do you agree that you and I don't need to eat animal products?
I would agree with that, because there's other things that we can eat for our enjoyment. Like, for example, I'm a big smoothie maker too.
Nice.
Like it helps me in the mornings. I wake up and I throw in bananas, fruits, bananas, strawberries, all these types of things, right? And it's not meat. I'm not throwing meat in a smoothie, and it's still filling me up, right? Absolutely. There's other things that can fulfill your enjoyment, fulfill your taste needs than meat.
Yeah.
So there he is playing along with this narrative that he eats for taste needs. That's not why human beings eat. We eat to provide essential nutrients to our biology.
And so with that in mind, what we do to animals is a choice. Yeah. And if it's a choice,
is it a choice that we spray pesticides on the plant foods that provide the items on the vegan menu, and those pesticides are driving animals into extinction because they are killing animals in such high numbers?
Why do we choose, or why would we choose to be unnecessarily cruel to animals when we don't have to?
Well, you would have to ask Blue Horizons that question, wouldn't you? I mean, next time they give you a check, write you a check for thousands and thousands of dollars, Earthling Ed, why don't you ask them why they're willing to kill all of these animals with their pesticides?
Oof. To be honest, I don't know why people would choose to just kill an animal.
To be honest, he's trying. Okay, all right. Your job, Mr. Actor, is to act like I've asked you some really tough questions, and you're going to be kind of emotionally devastated on the spot. You're going to be devastated by the truth. That's the feelings that you want to get across to the audience.
I physically can't do that to myself, right? I can't sit there and watch something like that happen. Think about it, all these things they're being mass produced, and you go to a supermarket, right?
He keeps saying mass produced. I think he's got some phrases. He's got a list of phrases that he's supposed to say every time he uses the phrase mass produced in regard to meat products. Then he gets a bonus. That's what I think.
And you see the product right there.
Because he's just throwing those phrases in there when they don't even fit what he's talking about, other than he's just working it in. He keeps saying the same things over and over again.
there and you can instantly just grab it, right? But you don't know where it came from.
No.
So you don't know the backstory behind all of that. You don't know the process. You know, they threw it in the.
What's the process of making soy curls? Can you explain that to me, Mr. Vegan Activist? Can you explain the process of all of the seed oils that are in the vegan diet? Can you explain that? Do you know the backstory there? Do you know the history of it? Do you know the process? Why don't you apply the same critiques to the vegan menu that you do to meats? I mean, what are the ingredients of ground beef? Beef. It's got one ingredient. What's the ingredients of Beyond Meat? What is it's got, like 36 different ingredients? Some of them you can't even pronounce. And if you look into the manufacture of those chemicals, you find out that there's gargantuan amounts of methane emissions, gargantuan amounts of petroleum and coal required, all sorts of emissions, pollutants. It's a petroleum dependent process to make all of these vegan ultra processed foods, but you're not going to critique the vegan menu at all. You're going to just pretend that the vegan menu falls out of the sky and is actually a product of unicorn farts.
Back of the truck, they threw it back, but you don't even know before the truck, right?
No.
Before that, they were feeding these animals, treating them right and all, but then boom, they're dead, they're gone. They killed them for food.
Yeah, and the thing is, when we say treating them right, 99% of animals in the US are factory farmed.
Yeah.
And that's the most abject form of farming, you know, regardless of other systems. That is where the majority of animal products come from. And while
Yeah, factory farms goes both ways. Okay, you've got factory. Well, they say factory farms. That what they mean, what they're referring to, is concentrated feedlots. However, 95% of the crops are factory crop farms, and that's where they're plowing up the fields, spraying pesticides, causing erosion, causing agrochemical runoff, which leads to oceanic dead zones. So again, it's the elephant in the room that they're not mentioning. They're not critiquing the vegan menu at all.
whilst we don't know the whole supply chain, we know that when we're eating meat, someone has died, right? Until we get cell-cultured meat, that's always going to be the case. We know that when we consume dairy and eggs, those animals are also going to be killed in slaughterhouses. So we do know the fundamentals of what we're supporting. We don't know.
Okay, we're going to pause for a minute and bring Darth Dripwalker on. Hey, Darth, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just in my second class right now for ASL.
Okay. Are you?
I was still watching your video when I was in an English class.
Oh, okay. You're about to graduate college?
I graduated high school. This is my last day of
High
Northfield.
school. You said this is your last day of school ever?
for high school forever.
Okay. What are your plans after high school?
Going to college at Mount Sac.
What are you going to study?
Criminal justice.
Okay. You're going to be a police officer?
I'm not sure about a police officer. It's a little risky. Like if I do something like wrong or something a little bad, I might end up like going to prison. It's like a little bad risk for me.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. How did you become an anti-vegan?
It was during my summer break when I was watching SS Sniper Wolf. That she was one of her videos that she was attacked by that vegan teacher.
You were watching who?
SS Sniper Wolf.
SS Sniper Wolf. Okay.
Yeah,
and
I'm not sure if
this
you heard
person was attacked by the vegan teacher?
by that vegan teacher. I think like 3 times in her video.
Okay.
So I clicked on her on that vegan teacher's YouTube before, and I seen like she was a vegan and a animal civil rights activist. And then I see her bunch of videos that she goes to attack a bunch of different non-vegan people that does not bow down to veganism, and they need to obey veganism orders for the rest of their lives. But unfortunately, she does not succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that she's being paid. I think my opinion is that she's one of those vegans that are being paid very handsomely for the vegan activism. So she's motivated.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Give me a second. My teacher's doing the attendance. Hold on.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to critiquing this.
Yeah. Okay, so what video were we doing? Earthling Ed you were doing?
Yeah, it's an Earthling Ed video called "Meat Eater Devastated by the Truth Goes Vegan on the Spot." Until you get out of class, I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way. The sound of your classroom is coming through pretty loud.
Yeah, I know it's pretty loud.
I'm gonna mute your mic until you're out of there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get back to critiquing the video.
Necessarily the intricate, details of certain things, but we know the basics, and that is that an animal has been put through a system of farming that's detrimental to them, and ultimately they've been killed as well for us to consume what we're consuming. And so with that in mind, then, what would it take for you to make the change yourself to veganism?
So the change I would make would, first of all, finding other things to just to eat, because there's so many things in the world that we can just enjoy instead of just like sitting there like, oh, I'm gonna go get a burger from McDonald's because it's easy, right? Yeah.
Right, because if you're a meat eater, the only thing that there is to eat is McDonald's because it's easy. These are just the weakest arguments that this propagandist has been assigned to mouth. I mean, I don't see how vegans can watch this and not realize that this is scripted propaganda.
Yeah, I get it. It's easy, right? And it's there. It's that satisfaction in the moment. Sure. But can be other ways to fulfill your needs instead of just going to buy a cheap burger just because it's cheap and you don't have to.
Yeah, again, with the burger, look at your average hamburger. It's got these two gigantic buns, one on the top, one on the bottom. And then you've got the lettuce, tomato, onions, pickles, and then some seed oil-based mayonnaise or mustard. And then you've got this thin little piece of meat. So when they want to demonize meat, they're going to point at a burger, which is 80% plant-based.
Pay that much, right? Yeah. There's a whole process behind it because like the satisfaction at the end when you make something, it feels good. When you cook and you're done with it, you feel good, right?
Absolutely, you're proud.
Yeah, what does that have to do with what we're talking about?
So in terms of like eating something other than meat, like to have that satisfaction after to say, oh, this tastes good and I'm not eating a dead animal, right?
This guy, okay, I think I just caught him looking at the money man. He's like looking at him saying, did I just get another bonus? Am I doing good, Mr. Earthling Ed's handler? Did I do good there? Am I saying the right things? Is this what your audience wants to hear?
It feels even better.
Absolutely. So I mean, you're absolutely right. And you are lucky in the sense that you enjoy cooking. So you've got your foot in the door already, which is good. Okay, so if it was that as a consequence of this conversation, I gave you some resources for some recipes, for some vegan meals, if you had those recipes and you could therefore enjoy cooking and enjoy eating plant-based meals and felt comfortable doing so, would you then make the change to vegan?
100%. 100%.
My man, wow.
100%.
What an absolute
100%,
delight
100%, 100%, 100%.
is speaking to you. Okay. Just before we wrap it up, because I don't want to keep you all day, I do think I do want to just kind of bring it back to the moral thing a little bit and just discuss it a little bit more, because it's so important to me. Now, you said that you don't enjoy watching animals endure the things that we put them through. What is it about it that you don't enjoy? Why does it make you feel upset?
Well, the fact is just like they're innocent.
Yeah.
You know, like they can't do anything, right? Like,
Well, what about the animals that are killed by the lethal crop protection industry? Are they innocent? Oh no, they're trespassing. They're guilty of a crime called trespassing. They're infringing on your rights to eat plants. You know, they do not apply the same standards to themselves that they apply to the meat industry. And this is because veganism is intellectually dishonest. You know, the new goalpost move that they've made is that it's not about veganism is not about reducing harm. It's about reducing negative rights violations. And so they've somehow, through some type of mental gymnastics, they're trying to claim that killing a deer to eat it is a rights violation, is a negative rights violation. And killing the same deer, not eating it because it's standing in a cornfield, is not a negative rights violation, and that's somehow makes it okay. When you really boil it down, what you see is that vegans are okay with killing animals as long as there's no one gaining nutritional sustenance from it. So really, I think that points to the misanthropic nature and the antinatalist nature of veganism. It's more about setting humans up for famine than anything else. Famine and malnutrition.
like, what are they gonna do? Fight us back? No. Like they literally keep them in herds and they slaughter them, and like with like, for, like I said before, for their enjoyment.
I think you look up at the handler again. He's like looking at him. He's like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah. The people that slaughter them for their enjoyment, for their needs, because they make money off of killing animals.
Right, they do.
Right? Like, imagine someone making money off of killing a person.
They make money off of killing animals, like Blue Horizons that sells pesticides that kills animals, and then they turn around and they give some of those profits to Earthling Ed.
That you put them in jail, right?
Yeah.
So like, you're making money off of killing. Yeah. No one, like, at the end of the day, we're all gonna die, but no one deserves to die, right?
Prematurely.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we're all going to die, but no, that doesn't give anyone justification to kill someone else early before their, quote unquote time.
So you can't justify killing anyone else early before their time unless they're infringing upon your property rights. A deer standing in a cornfield, a pig standing in a soybean field, a rabbit in the garden, a squirrel in the tomato patch. All of these animals deserve to die early. That's always the elephant in the room with Earthling Ed, is he never talks about crop deaths. Why do you think that is?
I agree with you, right? We have these arbitrary distinctions between species, and even take out humans out of the equation for a moment. Even dogs and cats, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say that there's a dog walking past now.
Uh-huh.
One of the people walking past now decides to go and kick that dog. Is that morally wrong?
Yes,
Right.
100%.
Why are vegans always talking about kicking dogs and stabbing dogs for fun? Vegans watch too much animal torture porn. And by the way, PETA and other animal rights activists have been caught many times staging animal torture so that they can video it and then turn around and demonize the meat industry, the dairy industry. And I've got a video that I'm working on. So if you're not subscribed, ring the bell so that you can be alerted whenever I publish that video, because it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
And so, and by societal standards, we all agree that that's morally wrong. And yet the irony is kicking a dog is deemed as morally wrong. Yet farming billions of animals and then literally
Kicking a dog is not going to give you any nutritional sustenance. You're not going to get B12 from kicking a dog. So why does Earthling Ed try to equate eating meat to kicking a dog? It's not the same thing at all. It's a ridiculous comparison.
cutting their throat and killing them is deemed as morally right. But if something just like kicking is wrong, then how can something as systemic and as violent as torture and death be considered acceptable? Does that seem like a contradiction to you?
100%, because like, I mean, they're house pets. Cats and dogs, obviously house pets, right? And we see them every day, and we love them and all this. Like, you can't have like a little baby cow as a pet, right? But at the same time, it's an animal,
Right.
So like at the end of the day, like it works out well, because like you can't see an animal in a bad manner. Like, I can't just sit there and, oh, I'm gonna kick a dog, right? Like,
What is this guy even saying? He's trying to, I think he forgot the script. And so he's starting to ramble about you can't see an animal in a negative way. How can you kick a dog? So meat eaters are dog kickers.
oh my gosh, that was so fun.
Yeah.
Right? But that's obviously morally wrong.
Right.
And I don't get how people can't see that. I mean, that you kick a dog, I mean, it could be alive still, right?
Yeah.
But you slaughter a lamb or a cow and it's dead right there,
That's it.
right? Oh, it's morally right because we eat them. Like,
Right, exactly. When we don't have to. So it's
Back that up. Watch him look at the camera. He's like, cha-ching. I'm making points right. How many bonuses did I qualify? Did I get all the vegan talking points in there?
it's dead right there,
That's it.
right? Oh, it's morally right because we eat them. Like,
right, exactly. When we don't
There he is, looking at that camera. I hope you guys believe me. I hope you believe that I'm really a meat eater, right? I'm a real meat eater. I'm really standing up for the meat eaters. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. This guy's got to be an actor.
don't have to. So it's, the point is, it's all needless, isn't it? This violence that we commit to animals. Okay, so what is it about animals that means that they deserve moral consideration?
I mean, they're living.
Yeah.
You know, they're alive.
Yeah.
They work. They have
Plants are living. Plants are alive. They don't have legs, but that's a disadvantage for them. They're rooted down. They can't run away. Yeah, they've employed defenses like lectins and tannins and thorns and shells and bark to try to prevent you from eating them, anti-nutrients. But you go ahead and eat them anyway. So these are empty arguments against eating meat.
legs and whatever. Like they move. They have brains. Like, so I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, vegans won't allow you to eat honey, but what's driving honeybees and other pollinators into extinction? The pesticides that are sprayed on the factory crop farms that produce the items on the vegan menu.
I don't know why there's not a problem with them just being innocently killed, or like just killed for no reason.
Yeah.
Or for
Yeah. Oh, he said killed for no reason. I bet you anything his next statement is going to be killed for taste pleasure. It's a vegan talking point. We are omnivores with a very heavy lean towards carnivory. That was the food that would be available year-round for humans. If we were plant eaters, primarily plant eaters, then we would have a functioning rumen or we would have a functioning cecum. We don't.
not for no reason, but killed for humans' satisfaction.
Human satisfaction. He's got that list of vegan talking points down pat, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So
Do you think that we as humans have the ability to empathize with other animals? Can we
Empathize?
understand what they're enduring?
100%. Because I mean, I sit there. I've got a French bulldog at home, right? And when we moved to San Diego, she was obviously sad because she didn't have her big yard, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there sympathizing with her, right? And I'm like, Stella, it's okay. Like, we got everybody, right? And she, obviously she's a dog. She can't talk, but they have feelings too. Yeah. They have emotions. Animals have emotions.
Absolutely.
So it's like it's tough to just see an animal just being killed when they.
it's tough to just see an animal being killed when they, I think that people should be slaughtering at least a portion of the animals that they eat, because people are so removed from where their food is sourced. It actually plays into the agenda of veganism, so that they're not associated with where their meat comes from. They don't know where their meat comes from. They don't realize the nutrition, the value of the nutrition there. But because they don't participate in any of the slaughter, then they begin to they begin to become too sensitive. They begin to become snowflakes in regard to killing animals. I don't believe that animals should be tortured or needlessly harmed, but human beings, our biology requires animal protein, animal nutrients, the B12, the choline, the creatine. We can't get that from plants.
Feel that, like it hurts. It hurts me.
Yeah. And I mean, it is horrible, isn't it? We'll wrap it up in just a minute. Thank you so much for your time. I guess with that in mind, part of the problem, and maybe you'll agree or disagree with this, is when we see what happens to animals, it's upsetting. But then when we go into a supermarket, or we go into a McDonald's or an In-N-Out or wherever it may be, we don't see what's happening to an animal then. And so we have this kind of like detachment from the process. And so it's out of sight and out of mind. I personally think that disconnection from the process is one of the reasons why people continue doing what they're doing, because they can be willfully ignorant.
No, the disconnect from the process actually sets them up to fall victim to veganism. Because people are not killing the animals that they eat, then they become snowflakes. They watch too many Walt Disney movies, and they watch all of this anthropomorphization of animals. Movies like Bambi that demonize hunters, and then that's what makes them easy prey for the malicious cult known as veganism.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I completely agree, because obviously, like you said, we don't know where it's coming from, right? Yeah. Like you get a burger, you get a double from In-N-Out, right? Where is this burger coming from? I don't know. Is this from one cow? Is this 2 cows in one?
What about the soy curls? Where does that come from? Explain that to me. Where does the soy curls come from?
Like, what is this, right? Like, especially with a hot dog too. Have you ever seen hot dogs being made? Yeah. Disgusting, right? Like I haven't eaten a hot dog ever. Like after I saw.
I haven't eaten a hot dog ever. Ever. He's always known how hot dogs are made. And eating meat, have they mentioned grass-fed beef, pastured eggs, organic pastured chicken, any, pastured pigs? No, all they're talking about is McDonald's, In-N-Out, chicken McNuggets, hot dogs. It's all the processed foods that they're just trying to marinate meat eating in every negative phrase that you can come up with.
Saw this video.
Yeah.
I have not had a hot dog since.
Yeah,
I'm just like, I don't want to eat it.
Yeah.
Like I know how it's made, right? Why do I want to put that in my body?
Absolutely. And that's the thing, is that we buy burgers.
Why would you want to put soy curls in your body? Soy curls are they contain hexane. Soybean oil contains hexane. Why would you want to put that in your body? Why would you want to make seitan out of gluten? Gluten, look it up. Gluten means glue. Gluten is glue. And humans can't completely digest gluten. In fact, it's been proven in studies to cause intestinal permeability, which can lead to all types of health problems. I mean, you're getting undigested food particles in your bloodstream. You're getting fecal matter in your bloodstream. Why would you want to put something in your body that causes harm?
Burgers or hot dogs or chicken nuggets, and we think, oh, we're eating a cow. We're actually eating multiple cows, dozens of cows probably, all minced up. And so it
actually takes one human being about 3.5 years to eat the equivalent of one cow.
It's a pretty gross process. Okay, cool. All right, well, let's wrap it up. I appreciate your time very much. And what I would love to do is give you some resources because, the more we know, the more capabilities we have to live in alignment with our morals.
Totally.
And so do you think that veganism is something that you would consider strongly after this conversation?
Totally. 100%.
Thank you.
He was, if he wasn't an actor, which I think he is, then he was already considering going vegan before he sat down. This idea that Earthling Ed converted him, Earthling Ed is such a vegan messiah, a vegan, the master converter. It's a fiction. It's scripted. I don't see how vegans don't recognize that. I think they probably do. They just don't care. The means justify the end, or the ends justify the means for a vegan. All right, let me see if I can unmute. Oh, he's muted. All right, let's see if there's any other good ones we can go in here. Oh, I bet this is another. Texan patriot takes on a vegan and regrets it.
There's one simple hearing hack anyone can use to improve.
If you had the choice, would you rather be beaten or have your throat cut?
Yeah, I would rather be beaten than killed.
Right. So if beating an animal is wrong, then how is cutting their throat not wrong, considering...
I'm not saying so what.
Hey, everyone.
Okay, so this is we're gonna, I bet you anything, this is going to look like another scripted so-called debate. This guy's going to say all the vegan talking points. I haven't watched it yet. I'm just predicting that that's what's going to happen. My belief is that every one of Earthling Ed's so-called on-location debates are scripted, and his opponent is a cherry-picked actor who's been given a list of vegan talking points and phrases and ways that they're supposed to demonize meat eating.
I hope you're all doing well. I'm just interrupting this video very much.
You vegan, you've been
During today's video.
Hi, Kyle. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Ed, and today I'm at Texas State University with a banner that says, "Give me your best argument for not being vegan." You've been waiting ages. I'm very thankful for that. So let me know what your response to the banner is.
Well, first off, I just need to know what your reasoning for being vegan is, because I have a lot of reasons why you should. Like, I could argue that economically. I could argue.
So he's arguing. He started off by saying, "I have a lot of reasons to argue for veganism." Listen to
Hi, Kyle. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Ed, and today I'm at Texas State University with a banner that says, "Give me your best argument for not being vegan." You've been waiting ages. I'm very.
Well, this guy's he's a Texan, right? He's got his American flag overalls on. Yeah, he's got a mustache and baseball cap. He's got tattoos on his arm, and his pockets are open, ready to receive as much propaganda profits from the vegan community as possible.
Thankful for that. So let me know what your response to the banner is.
Well, first off, I just need to know what your reasoning for being vegan is, because I
have a lot of reason for being vegan.
A lot of reasons why you should. Like, I could argue that economically. I could argue.
Economically, veganism is more expensive. Everything about veganism is more expensive.
A lot of reasons. Health to be vegan.
Health. He's arguing that veganism is healthier. It's more economical. So this guy is, right off the bat, he's not even pretending to be arguing against veganism. So why is Earthling Ed sitting down and debating people who have a list of arguments that are pro-vegan? What kind of debate is that? That's more like a couple of these guys should be holding hands walking down the beach together.
Oh, to be vegan.
My issue is I don't have a moral issue with it.
No, okay.
I don't see an issue.
Sure. I mean, look, I talk about the morals a lot, but you can get to veganism in a number of ways.
Okay, so this guy, the way he's been scripted to come across is that he doesn't think that there's a moral problem with eating meat, but there's other reasons, he says, and those reasons that he's listed so far is economics and health.
And if you think there's a health benefit, an economic benefit, maybe there's an environmental benefit, I don't know if you believe that or not, but if you recognize those benefits, then
the environmental benefit, like the soy industry displacing the cattle. See what's happening over in the Amazon. You look this up. The cattle industry historically was not encroaching on the rainforest, but because cattle build healthy soil, then the soy industry comes in and displaces cattle. So the cattle industry has to move on because the soy industry, which is much more profitable, comes in and takes over the pastures where the cattle were grazing, because the soil has been built up and is optimal in that area for growing soy. And so they push the cattle out. That causes the cattle ranchers to be forced into the forest. So it's not because the cattle industry is growing out of control. It's because the soy industry is growing out of control and it's displacing the cattlemen and pushing them into other areas. Palm oil. The palm oil industry is also a major contributor to deforestation in the rainforests.
even if you and I don't reach commonality on the morality in the next 20 minutes.
Also, the pesticides and the synthetic nitrogen that are being sprayed on 95% of the factory crop farms, that's getting washed into the streams and rivers, makes it into the oceans, and now we've got 100,000 square miles of oceanic dead zone. That's because of the crop agriculture that provides the items on the vegan menu.
So those things in and of themselves are still good motivations to make that change regardless.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the morality. You know, that's what I'm here to do. What do you disagree with when it comes to the morality of veganism?
I don't have a moral issue with eating animals. I don't have a moral issue with killing it. I mean, there are certain animals I don't. I think that he could talk about where.
Okay, so he's been scripted to be a speciesist, right? He doesn't have a problem with killing animals. There's certain animals that he doesn't, or that he don't, as he said.
There's the line.
Yeah.
And to me, the line is because my big part of it is I don't because I don't have to. If I had to.
I don't because I don't have to. If I had to. So I think the character he's trying to portray is someone that has to be legislated into veganism.
I love my dog.
Yeah.
I would eat my dog if I had to.
Oh, yeah.
But there are certain animals that we don't generally eat because we don't have to. And I feel like a big part of that is because of their level of intelligence. And that would include things like dolphins, monkeys, horses, dogs. I would almost argue octopi, even though in a lot of places that's.
Do you eat octopuses?
I don't.
No. Is that because they're intelligent?
It's slimy. I have, but a big part of it is they are intelligent animals. They argue that their tentacles move independently because of the way that their brain works.
Well, an octopus is intelligent, but intelligence has nothing to do with whether or not your tentacles move independently of one another. A sheep, its legs operate independently of each other. A fly has wings and legs that operate, maybe not the wings, they work as a pair, but the legs operate independently of each other. I think what you're looking at here is another vegan activist who, says some ridiculous things because he's trying to follow a general script, and he tries to fill these dead air with something to say, and he comes up with this idea that Well, an octopus is intelligent because it can move its tentacles independently of one another. That's ridiculous.
They're an enigma.
They're almost extraterrestrial. They're so incredible. Okay, so let's focus on that point.
They're so incredible that they're almost extraterrestrial. So anything that's incredible is from outer space. Doesn't make any sense.
Obviously, there's culturally we've created different distinctions.
Oh, is he going into the culture weak argument again? We eat meat because of culture.
Between different types of animals, dogs who you have at home, who you love, but then the pigs and the cows. But the main criteria behind why you don't seem to consume the other animals that you don't consume seems to be because we don't have to, right? Was that what you said?
I don't, because I don't have to, but I really don't want to, because I wouldn't want to even if I had to, because of the level of intelligence. Like, my dog is stupid smart.
Yeah, right. But so are pigs and cows, of course. But that point aside,
My dog is stupid smart. Oh, this guy.
Have to eat meat, dairy, and eggs? Like, do you have to eat it today if you go to the canteen or go to a restaurant or cook it at home? Is that something you have to do?
I mean, yes and no. I feel like that's almost.
He's like, "Oh, you got me. Oh, you got me." Why don't you just say, yes, it's something that I have to do. My health is very important. I don't want to have to rely upon some supplement industry to provide me the essential nutrition that I require to stay healthy. It's been proven over and over again that it's best to get these nutrients from food, not from supplements.
Loaded. Like, yes, you do eventually have to eat. And I feel like, yeah, I don't eat as much fruit or vegetables as I could. Yeah.
Okay, vegan talking point.
Because I do prefer animals, but I do.
You have to eat, but do you have to eat?
This guy's soft. He's not an animal eater. He looks like someone that eats corn dogs. That's probably his main meat.
Animals.
Necessarily no, but I don't have a problem with it.
No, you don't have a problem with it. The first thing to establish is whether or not it's a choice.
I don't even think this guy's from Texas.
And if we establish the choice, that's the first thing which is important. You yourself sat down and said, look, health.
This guy's from San Diego. He flew to Texas, probably sitting right next to Earthling Ed. They held hands all the way and role played how they were going to do this fake debate. This guy does not come across as a Texan to me.
Economics, those are good arguments. And so you've already established that there isn't a necessity for us to consume animals, and potentially even think that there's a negative aspect to consuming some animal products as well from a health perspective. So
America has one of the worst cholesterol and obesity rates ever, specifically.
Yeah. Low cholesterol. The people with low cholesterol have the highest rates of all-cause mortality. People with low cholesterol are more violent and die violently more often. People with low cholesterol often have low testosterone, low estrogen. And all of these, if you watch the live stream from yesterday, I showed the new study that proved that the primary correlation associated with coronary heart disease was type 2 diabetes, and the cholesterol had the least amount of correlation amongst all of the different factors that they examined.
In Texas, actually specifically in San Antonio, but I don't have a moral obligation against or a problem eating.
Well, let's move on to that then. So we agree it's a choice, which is the first thing to agree. Are there limitations to what we should and shouldn't do to an animal? Like, are there some things that we could do to pigs, cows, chickens, and the like that we would say is immoral, that you would have a moral concern?
Absolutely. I would love to see every single cow in a green field up until the point and given a certain level of life, until the point of becoming a product and being sold to eat or sold for leather or. I do think everything deserves a certain level.
Why do they deserve it?
Not necessarily that they deserve it. I think it says more about us as people. Like, I can beat my dog, I don't.
Okay, so now he's again, they're associating eating meat with abusing dogs. You know, this has got to be something that they script into Earthling Ed's fake debates.
Beat my dog because I have a problem with it. A, it doesn't deserve it. B, I'm not that person.
Why don't they deserve it?
It's a living thing. But to a certain point, like I understand where you're going, but to a certain point, to me, it has a purpose.
Yeah, what's that purpose?
Eventually to consume.
But what about the dog?
My dog. I mean, if I had to, I would. It's more. I would say a dog is more of a luxury and a companion.
Yeah, companion's right. It's a good word. But the cows, okay, so we've created like an assigned purpose to them. We say this cow's purpose is to be killed and eaten. But that doesn't mean anything. Like I could breed dogs into existence and say this dog's purpose is to be my sex toy, or this dog's purpose is to be my meat.
Whoa. So either beating dogs or having dogs as a sex toy. What is wrong with vegans? Their mind is always in some really strange places.
And say this dog's purpose is to be my sex toy, or this dog's purpose is to be my meat consumption. You know, and I use that example because it is ridiculous. But the point is the arbitrary assigning of purpose is also ridiculous because it doesn't mean anything. We're just saying.
It's funny that he brings up dogs being sex toy. I don't know if you've heard of the vegan called Sexy Vegan and what he did with his pit bull. Pull that up real quick. Man named Vegan Sexy, I think his name's actually Sexy Vegan, busted for sex with pit bull. So the only people that are using dogs as sex toys are vegans. So it's odd that Earthling Ed doesn't come clean about that fact. Maybe this is way of kind of coming out of the closet as someone who's using a dog as a sex toy, because I think that that's primarily a vegan characteristic.
Saying, hey, this is what I'm here for, but it doesn't actually mean anything. It's just what we're saying.
I mean, I understand that, but at the same time, I mean, I think we eat certain animals as a group because of a level of intelligence that we've seen and observed and quantified. And
if that's true, then surely that still leads us.
That's not really true because rats and mice, you know, they're always doing intelligence experiments with them. They're always solving their way through a maze, etc. And they're omnivores. An omnivore and a predator, hunters, they have to be intelligent. They have to work together as a team. They're always going to be more intelligent than the herbivore. Herbivores are not known for their intelligence. A cow could not make its way through a maze. If you were to have, entice it with some food, it would just go to the corner, go up against the fence, and just look at you. It doesn't look around and say, okay, how do I get there? They'll stand there all day just waiting for you to open a gate, rather than going around.
To veganism, because out of all of the life forms we can consume, they're the least intelligent. I mean, kale is less intelligent than a cow. So if we are saying that it's moral to eat these animals because of their intelligence, then surely that leads
I want to eat the least intelligent thing. I'm saying I'm choosing a meat product, because it, to me, we were talking about being humane. Yeah. An animal with a higher level of intelligence, to kill it for the sake of meat, you would argue is less humane.
But then plants are, of course, less aware as well. So I don't eat
I'm
my
saying
horse,
I choose
but I
to
eat
eat this
my
one
cow.
because of this, as opposed to.
So that's the criteria for which you are assigning moral worth.
It's
But that
moral.
leads exactly.
I mean, I would.
So that leads us to veganism. that leads us to, because plants are less aware and less intelligent and of course less sentient than the animals we do consume.
I feel like that's a little bit loaded, but it's just not the same thing. It's not on the same spectrum.
It's the logic you're using. So taking that logic that you're using to its fullest extent, that leads us to veganism.
How is it that Earthling Ed never debates anyone that brings up the essential nutrition found in meat? I mean, that are they under contract to not mention that?
Anyway,
I don't have a great response for that. I like I said, I don't feel like
This guy's, I think he's from San Diego. This guy does not come across as a Texan whatsoever.
they're on the same. Yes, if we're using intelligence as the argument,
yeah.
But what I'm willing to consume and what I feel I need to consume, I don't feel like it's the same category.
So
I don't, whether or not I don't have a great argument for that right now because I just kind of walked up and started talking. So you want to talk, but
yeah, I like that.
Sure, you did.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the justification then? If it's not intelligence, then what is the justification for eating the animals you do consume?
I'm sorry, I don't completely.
Well, because up until
Yeah. So he's trying to portray being stumped by the question.
well, now intelligence has mainly been the argument. But if it's not intelligence that's the reason,
I'm not saying so. Intelligence isn't the reason why I eat animals. It's the reason I choose certain animals over other animals.
so why do you eat animals?
I just feel like it's what my body needs to consume. It's what I feel hungry for.
Oh, well, he didn't use the word nutrition or essential nutrients, but at least he said it's what my body needs to consume. That is accurate.
It's what I like. And I'm not saying we don't eat animals because we feel the need to. We eat animals because we were raised to eat animals.
Oh, there you go with the. So he just backed out of that. He realized that he made a mistake by saying that he eats animals because it's what his body needs. Then he backed up because he wants that bonus. He wants that bonus cash. So he backed out of that and he says, I want to qualify that. I'm not eating it because we need to. It's because I eat it because that's the way I was raised, which is again that weak culture argument that vegans like Earthling Ed like to take that one on because it's weak. It's one of the weakest arguments against veganism is I eat meat for culture.
That has been discredited, or like that's 100% not. And like, and I'm not saying we don't eat animals because we feel the need to. We eat animals because we were raised to eat animals. That has been discredited, or like that's 100% not a good argument.
Yeah.
So I was raised to eat this way, and I'm sure y'all were too. I know he was. We talked about it,
I was
and you
as well.
developed into eating this. Maybe one day that's in the cards for me. Right now, it's not.
So what is the justification now then?
I don't have a problem with it.
But why not?
I don't. I do believe I believe as people that we are above animals, and I don't feel any. And some people.
Are you above a horse?
Yes.
So why not kill the horse then?
It's because I don't have to.
We don't have
If
to
I had
kill
to,
the
I
cows.
would.
We don't have to kill the cows or chickens or.
We used to eat horses on the regular. Native Americans ate horses. Lots of people have eaten horse. In some places, they still eat horse. There's nothing wrong with eating a horse. It might not be legal in a lot of areas, but just because something's illegal doesn't mean that it's wrong. Like, for instance, we survived for millions of years on raw milk as part of our diet, but now in many places in the world, it's illegal to sell raw milk. It's got to be heated up, have the enzymes destroyed, much of the nutrition destroyed through the homogenization and pasteurization.
Pigs either.
I mean, to fulfill what I feel I need from my diet, I do.
Need or want?
No, that's fair.
Is it a need or a want?
For me, I feel like that line right there is pretty thin. Like
Yeah, so he's again he's not putting up a fight at all. He's just saying that's pretty thin. My excuse for eating meat is pretty flimsy.
I do feel like I need it. Maybe it is one. Maybe you're right. But
Could you be plant-based? I mean, you sat down and said health was an argument for being plant-based. So if health is an argument for being plant-based, then
This guy's horrible. He's a horrible actor.
Surely you don't need to eat animals, so it is a want.
That's fair.
So how do you morally justify?
So he's pretending to be stumped by Earthling Ed. I would love to sit down and debate Earthling Ed. I would completely destroy him, but he would never, his handlers would not allow it.
Unnecessarily killing animals for a want and not a need.
I do feel like I mean, just to kind of loop back, I know I'm probably stumbling over myself right now, but I do feel like I need it. Like I feel like it's part of my diet, is part of who I am, and
yeah, he's not talking about nutrition. He's saying I'm eating meat because it's part of who I am. It's my culture. It's the way I was raised. He doesn't know anything about. He probably knows something about nutrition, but he's being paid to not mention it.
like once again, I don't feel morally questioned in whether or not I can or can't eat an animal.
Yeah, the meat eater is burping, disgusting meat eater.
But whilst it is true that it's a part of your diet now and you were raised to do so, it doesn't need to be a part of your diet moving forward by the very admission that people change, and we've all changed here, of course. So it doesn't have to be moving forward. So whilst you may perceive it to be a need now, it's not actually a need. It is still that want. And when it comes to the moral justification for harming animals, there are limitations for what we can and can't do to animals. We've already kind of decided that.
I don't think you should beat or keep it in an environment in which it's.
If you had the choice, would you rather be beaten or have your throat cut? If I could do one or the other to you now, which would you choose?
I mean, you're also talking to a person with a higher level of cognizance and sentience.
That point aside, the experience is the experience for the animal. So if you had to choose between being beaten now or having your throat cut, which would you choose?
Well,
So he's, this guy's. I could sit here. The only thing that comes to mind is just pointing out the bad acting. It's just bad acting.
first, for an animal, at the end of it, the end state is death. Period. End of story. Right?
Because the idea of beating an animal, you said that beating an animal is wrong, but you could beat an animal once and never beat them again. But that would.
Well, how about would you beat an animal, or would you slit an animal's throat, or would you feed an animal anticoagulant crop rodenticides so that animal could die a miserable death by bleeding internally over the course of 13, 14 days? So how about giving him three choices so that you don't ignore the gargantuan amounts of animal suffering and death that's required to produce the items on the vegan menu?
I
still
thought we
be
were
wrong.
arguing for animals that are being used for the sake of meat and produce.
We're going to, but I'm just trying to use the logic for a second.
I mean, if we're using it in just this case where the end state isn't the exact same as an animal, yeah, I would rather be beaten than killed.
Right. So if beating an animal is wrong, then how is cutting their throat not wrong? Considering
I'm not saying so. What? I do feel that meat needs to be a part of my diet. I do, and we can go back into that, whatever. But at the end of the day, and this is something that we do preach, especially among hunters, is as humanely as possible. Whether or not that looks gory to you, I understand. That's just, it's a way of life. It's full circle. But eventually, I do believe that when you do it, if you are going to consume this animal, you are to be respectful about it.
Is it respectful to unnecessarily take the life of an animal? Is that respect?
To me, I do feel like it's necessary.
There's that unnecessarily. So the implication there is that the animals that they kill to protect the crops that provide the items on the vegan menu, those deaths are necessary. But the deaths involved with animal agriculture are not. However, the nutrition that's provided by meat and dairy and eggs and fish is essential to optimal human health.
Necessary for my body. So
But see, now I feel like we're backtracking a little
I understand.
bit.
I'm backtracking a little bit.
If
I know that you got me in a little.
I know that you got me. How did we know that this actor was going to say that at some point during this fake debate? I mean, they set him up. They set Earthling up against these actors that pretend to be meat eaters. I don't even think this guy's from Texas. He's he's got to be hired help. He's an actor.
A little bit of a circle, but I do feel like it is a part of my, like, it is a part of something I need to survive. It is, I personally, if you were to throw me in an environment and say, eat one or the other, I don't feel like I could sustain myself the way I need to based purely off plants in the wild. If you were to throw me right now,
But you're not in the wild, are you? I agree in the wild, but you're not. You're in San Marcos.
Yeah, but
So what? That's a big difference, right?
once again,
It's a big difference. If
This guy's trying to act like he's stumped, right?
if I may, and I don't mean to seem rude, but it seems like you're changing your argument because there was a bit of a tight spot we got ourselves into. And it feels like now you're changing it from something that you agreed at the beginning wasn't true to now you're saying it because that seems to skirt around having to deal with the moral contention of what it is that you choose to do. But ultimately, you have already established that you don't need to. And you're not in the wild now. You're in San Marcos. You can go to a canteen. You can go to a restaurant. You can go to a supermarket. You can easily buy some.
The nutritional needs of a human being are not going to change if they're in the wild or if they're in San Marcos. They're going to be the same regardless. Your biological, your biochemistry, your essential nutrient needs do not change when you're in one environment as opposed to the other. That's a static requirement.
Something that doesn't come from an animal just as easily as you can buy something that does come from an animal, because all the places you're going to go to, a supermarket, the canteen, have both options there in front of you. So you're not in the wild, you're here now, and you don't need to do it. And we've already established that if it's wrong to beat an animal, then it must be wrong to cut their throat, because we would rather just be beaten once.
If it's wrong to beat an animal and it's wrong to cut their throat, then it's wrong to feed them crop protection rodenticides that contain anticoagulants that cause the animal to slowly bleed to death in misery over the course of 13 or 14 days.
And have our throat cut and be killed. So how can one of those things be wrong and not the other, when the thing that you're saying is right is actually more severe than the thing you're saying is wrong?
Which is more severe? And again, I haven't said this today, but slitting an animal's throat generally is not how animals are slaughtered. They have special guns. They don't shoot projectiles, but they have a bolt. They're called, they're like bolt guns. This bolt that comes out and knocks them unconscious. They die instantly. There's no suffering. This idea that animals have their throats slit, he might be right if we were living in the 1800s, but since then we've improved the slaughtering process, appeasing these animal rights activists so that we've reduced the suffering down to nil. However, compare that again to the anticoagulant rodenticides that are used on the crop farms that produce the items on the vegan menu. 2 weeks of extreme misery while they slowly bleed to death internally. And these are pesticides that are sold by some of the companies that finance Earthling Ed's activism.
I guess you're right. I do want to do it. That is fair.
Yeah.
I don't need to do it. I could, even though I don't necessarily want to eat a head of lettuce. I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, a head of lettuce has the same nutritional, it's going to provide you the same nutrition that a beef liver would. It's the same.
Yeah, I do want to, but also at the same time, I still don't feel any moral obligation not to.
But you feel a moral obligation not to beat an animal.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think, along with an animal not deserving, I think that kind of shows you as a person.
So why do they deserve to have their throat cut? And what does it say about a person who pays for that?
Like I said, when you do it, when you feel the need to do it, and you feel the need, even though it's a want, okay. It is a want to eat an animal. It is a need to eat.
It's a want.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when you do it, I do feel like you do deserve, like, I kill it. I don't just, when I go hunting, I don't needlessly kill as many deer as I want. I kill what
I don't think this guy's ever been hunting in his life.
need. I don't eat any, or I don't kill more than I'm going to eat. And I do for myself.
You want, don't you? You kill how you want.
And he explained, one of the things he said earlier was that he deserves it. So he's describing his desire for meat as just it's a cultural norm. It pleases him, but not once has he, except for maybe one time, he said that his body needs it. But he's not. He's very careful. This actor is very careful to not mention essential nutrients.
To eat that much deer, so you killed that many
want
deer.
to eat a deer.
Yes, so you killed the amount that facilitates.
I want to eat a deer. Does that sound like a hunter? A hunter would say, "Man, I love me some venison." Not, "I want to eat a deer." Now, this guy is a horrible actor.
It's that want.
Yeah,
Fair
enough.
So so now we're saying that it's okay to do these things to animals as long as we want to do them to animals.
He's like, okay, so at the end of this debate, here's Earthling Ed coaching him. By the end of this debate, I want you to be at a loss for words, okay? I want you to come across as someone who's beaten, someone who's been defeated, someone who's stumped, doesn't know what to say. Horrible acting.
I'm not articulating this the way I want. Like I said, I do want to eat an animal.
Yeah.
I need to.
I do want to eat an animal. I do want to eat an animal. Does that sound like something that a meat eater would say? I do want to eat an animal. This guy's... I wonder how much he was paid to sit down with Earthling Ed. I wonder how much his flight from San Diego cost back in 2 months ago. I wonder, did they have seats right next to each other on the plane? Did they fly American Airlines, or were there any layovers? Did they do some crossword puzzles together on the way over here, or did they just read the script and role play together?
To eat,
But not an animal. You don't need to eat an animal.
Yeah.
So now we're doing all these things to animals just because we want to. So you think it's justified to do that?
Well, I don't have a problem eating animals. So yeah,
You have a problem beating animals.
yeah, I do.
So it's wrong to beat an animal.
I think when you are to use an animal as a source of sustenance, nutritionally,
Oh, there he did it. He did it. He finally said it. Sustenance, nutrition. But will he back out of this and then go back to claiming that he's eating animals for cultural reasons and for want?
to sustain yourself.
Yeah.
I think you owe that animal a due diligence to treat it a certain way within a certain parameter, right? So, like, I do have a problem with the way that we do keep a lot of livestock, cows, chickens, pigs. I do take a lot of fault with that. I don't think.
Do you take a fault with the animals that are shot in the face because they wandered back into the territory that was once their home, has now been taken over by crop agriculture that provides the items on the vegan menu, and they get it shot in the face, shot in the belly, shot in the back, shot in the leg, because they made the mistake of wandering back into what was their home?
They deserve that. I do think if I'm going to eat an animal, I want it to be killed, butchered, and up until the point of that, its livelihood, I want it to be treated respectfully.
Sure. But at the same time, it's not respectful to unnecessarily harm someone. It wouldn't be respectful to beat the animal. So why is it respectful to then cut?
It's funny how vegans, when they talk about animals, they're someone, but when they talk about human babies, they're an it. Have you noticed that?
Their throat. How does that constitute respect? That's it.
There he goes. He's at a loss for words. Remember, the script says that by the end of the debate, this guy will be at a loss for words. He'll portray someone who's been defeated in debate and just doesn't have anything to say because he's just been slaughtered in the debate.
Good.
Do you think that does constitute respect?
I
don't. You got me.
What do you think? Just be honest. Is it respectful to unnecessarily cut their throat?
You should be respectful to a certain point, but like I said,
what point is that?
They deserve a certain level of treatment up until the point that you're going to consume them.
Why do they deserve to die then? If they deserve to be treated well, don't they deserve to not be killed unnecessarily?
So earlier, just a few minutes ago, he said that animals contained, he alluded to the fact that animals contain sustenance, essential nutrients, and now he's pretending that he's at a loss for words because the animals that he consumes are killed without reason.
What do you think?
I don't have something prepared for that. I really don't. I don't have a good answer.
Oh, he doesn't have something prepared?
What do you think?
I don't have something prepared for that. I really don't. I don't have a good answer or rebuttal.
No, that's okay. Well, maybe because maybe you do have an answer, but you don't want to say the answer because if you did, it would reveal something about your current situation.
No, not really, man. I don't feel like I've been caught in any. Like I understand what you're trying to lead me up into saying that I should be vegan. I just don't have a problem with.
But you can't say that it's respectful, can you? So you can't say that it's respectful, and you've also agreed that it's wrong to beat an animal. But then by virtue of that, it should be wrong to cut their throat. So what is it that you disagree with? Because we agree on everything. We agree. It's not respectful. It is unnecessary. We don't need to. It is cruel. Beating an animal is wrong, as is cutting their throat unnecessary. We agree on everything. You and I, we're not arguing against each other. We're agreeing with each other. It's just that we're hitting a brick wall where there's almost a refusal to acknowledge what maybe has been shown to us.
I hear what you were saying,
Thank you.
but I keep getting led to the same answer, not using the same equation. Where you say this equals this. I understand this and this, but I don't think it equals.
So what is it that? So let's add it up, and then let's say where you equal. So we add up that we don't need to eat animals. We add up that there are some things we shouldn't do to animals, including beating them.
Should we feed them poisons like you do in the crop agriculture that produces the vegan menu? The same poisons that Blue Horizons sells so that you can take that profit and stick it in your pocket, Earthling Ed?
And because cutting someone's throat is worse than beating them, as a consequence, cutting their throat would also be a moral concern. So how does that not get us to the same point? How do you go? You have to go.
Like it's a little. No, sorry.
Oh, no.
I have a couple. I have a few.
You've got a couple minutes. Amazing.
But I do feel like just inherently by the fact that there is at least even though in my point of view, as minimal violence as needed, the fact that there's any violence at all is going to naturally lead you into that. And I just feel like that makes it a little bit like I morally do not have a problem eating animals. I objectively do not need to eat meat. I do.
Earlier he was saying that the meat was providing him sustenance and nutrition, and now he's making the false claim that he objectively does not need to eat meat.
I objectively do not need to eat meat. I do feel in my.
Now, do you believe this guy is not an actor? He just stated, I think this was, again, he's got certain things that if he says them, I believe that he's going to get a bonus. So that was a big bonus to have a guy that's supposed to be an opponent of veganism saying to Earthling Ed that I objectively do not need to eat meat. That's an absolutely false statement. It's a vegan talking point.
My situation, the way I eat and the way I live my life that I do. And because of that, it leads me to eating animals. And because it leads me to animals, I try to do as much as I can to be courteous to the animal. And
not to just
none of what he's saying makes any sense. Let's listen to what he just said again.
Eat in the way I live my life that I do. And because of that, it leads me to eating animals. The way I eat and the way I live objectively do not need to eat meat. I do feel in my situation, the way I eat and the way I live my life that I do. And because of that, it leads me to eating animals. And because it leads me to animals, I try to do.
So he feels like he needs to eat meat because of the way that he lives his life. So that leads him to eating meat. And that's why he feels like he needs to be courteous to animals. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. He's saying that he needs to be courteous because he eats animals, courteous to the animals. You think this guy's even been around? Do you think he's ever been around cattle? Do you think he's courteous to cattle? No, he's probably never even stepped foot on a farm. He spends most of his time playing video games in San Diego and flying kites on the beach. And he's been probably entered the vegan propagandist network and was hired to come to San Marcos and pretend to be a student from Texas. He doesn't have a Texas accent. He doesn't have any real meat eater arguments. He's full of nothing but vegan talking points.
Do as much as I can to be courteous to the animal.
And you're not doing as much as you can, because doing as much as you can would be not to do those things to animals. So it's not doing as much as you can.
So I think what the script calls for now is for him to act like he's been painted into a corner. He's supposed to look at his phone, pretending that he's in a hurry to get out of here. Got to get going. He's tired of being embarrassed because he doesn't have any good arguments for eating meat. It looks all scripted to me.
I would love to continue.
I know.
I do have to go,
I know
though,
you
man.
do.
I do.
I know you
And
do.
this is awesome.
It has been fun, Kyle.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much. Best of luck with your algebra exam. Something to think about at least. Bye, Kyle.
Well, I think that, yeah, that was a Texan Patriot costume, George. You got that right. Vegan. This is vegan propaganda. See, he's very honest about some of his statements are very honest, like that one. Vegan. This is vegan propaganda. Well, anyone have any questions before we wrap it up today? Yeah. Vegans are corporate useful idiots. They fight for the World Economic Forum's vision for the future, whether they know it or not. That's absolutely true. Let's see. I want to thank Darth Dripwalker for coming on. He tried his best. It was just difficult because he was still in class. This is his last day of school. Maybe on the next live stream he can come on and tell us more about himself and his perspective on anti-veganism. He's also got a channel where he does some comedic skits about vegans. So if you feel inclined, go over to Darth Dripwalker's channel and check him out. And if no one's got anything else to say, then we'll wrap it up for now, and I'll see you again soon. Thank y'all